We are back for another in the greatest of all time series where I ask you what your favourite fragrances are. This time we're doing fresh scents, so stay tuned and find out what you voted for as your favourite freshies. I love doing this. I love finding out what your favourite fragrances are because it just gives me a really good sense of who my audience is, and there's often some surprises. There is definitely a surprise in this video. I was not expecting the fragrance that came in at number 1 to be the most popular fragrance. If you don't know, the way I get the votes for these videos is on my YouTube community tab. I ask you lot what your favourite fragrances are. What I've done is got all the votes in together, and I usually just come up with the top 3. There are ties though, usually in these videos, and that is no exception. We have 3 tied in the number 3 spot in this video. I just want to give you a few notable mentions that didn't quite make the top 3, but just missed out narrowly. Very quickly, coming in at the 4th spot, all with the exact same number of votes, we have Chanel Allure Edition Blanche, MFK Gentle Fluidity Silver, Dior Homme Sport, and Acqua di Gio Profondo. Okay, let's get into the top 3, find out what you voted for. The 3rd place is tied with 3 fragrances. The first one I'm going to mention is a personal love of mine. This is one of my favourite fresh fragrances, Light Blue Eau Intense from Dolce & Gabbana. This has sea salty notes. There's some juniper giving it a little bit of a gin and tonic type of freshness. One of the things I love most about this fragrance is the musk, because they anchor everything. Just such a well balanced fragrance. When you smell this, it is like you are stood by the ocean smelling fresh ocean air. The breeze is flowing across your face. I'd usually wear this as a feel-good daytime scent in the summer. I could easily wear it all year round. Good gym scent. If you like wearing fragrances in the gym, then this would be one that isn't going to offend anyone, and you're going to have that nice sort of clean, fresh appeal. So Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue Eau Intense is the first one at the number 3 spot. The second one is, you guys, you love a lot of the same fragrances I do, which is I guess why you watch my channel. So the second one tied at number 3 is Dior Homme Cologne. This is a very simple fragrance, but sometimes less is more. Simple can be best, especially on a hot summer's day. You don't want to be too complex. You don't want it to be too busy, and Dior Homme Cologne absolutely does that. I would describe this as a fresh, citrusy, musky fragrance. For some reason, and I always say this about Dior Homme Cologne, it just makes me think of sitting on a balcony overlooking a blue Mediterranean Sea, having a glass of orange juice in front of me, maybe a croissant there as well. Conjures that imagery. It just gives me those good summer vibes. So not too much going on with this. Dior only list 3 notes. I'm sure there's more. It is not a bad performing fragrance at all, considering it is called a cologne. I'm not sure whether this is an EDT or a cologne concentration. I'm assuming it's an eau de toilette, but I get reasonable performance, especially if I wear it on a warmer day. Again, I would probably just choose to wear this casually, although I think this is crisp and classy enough to wear as an evening fragrance. Performance for me is fairly decent. Dior Homme Cologne, if you've not tried it for summer, get your nose on it because it is a beauty. The third one, tying at the number 3 spot, is again, fragrance I love from a brand that I love. Not really any surprise that this is here. I'm talking about Roger Parfum's Elysium. This is one of the nicest, sparkling, refreshing, fruity fragrances that I own. I don't like fragrances to be overly fruity, but Elysium just perfectly balances the sharper citrus notes with the more rounded fruity notes. And as usual with Roger Parfum's fragrances, despite having quite an extensive note listing, everything blends together seamlessly and effortlessly. It is a beautiful, smooth, invigorating, refreshing, and as I said, sparkling fragrance. Yeah, you know, maybe it's not a beast mode fragrance. It's maybe not going to last as long as some other fragrances, but for a fresher fragrance, performance on me is absolutely fine with this. Probably similar to these two as well, and I think you find that with most fresh fragrances. You know, they're not going to have the same performance as other fragrance categories. So Elysium is the third one at number 3. There are no more ties now. We just have number 1, number 2, and we only have 2 fragrances. The fragrance at number 2 is another favorite of mine, and I've mentioned this quite a lot in recent videos. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it was you guys that picked it. It's a recent purchase for me, even though it's not a smell that I've only smelled recently. I've had samples and decants and clones for years of this, and I decided on a recent trip to Mauritius, I wanted to buy one of the best fresh tropical scents that you can get. So I purchased Creed's Virgin Island Water. Coconut, lime, white rum. This is white sandy beaches, palm trees. Little bit of a suntan lotion vibe because of the coconut in there. Super refreshing. I bought this to create scent memories of my trip to Mauritius, and you can probably tell by the reaction as I'm smelling this. It just takes me back to those days walking down those sandy beaches, drinking cocktails, good times with my family. Again, not the biggest performing fragrance, but who cares? When you're wearing this on a warm summer's day, it just hits the spot. Every time I mention this in a video, people are saying this is more difficult to get hold of these days. I don't know why. I've not heard that Creed are discontinuing it. I hope not. I hope there's no big reformulations. I don't think it could get too much weaker in a reformulation, but maybe there's a stock issue, maybe it's ingredients. I'm sure Creed are going to continue with this fragrance because it must be pretty popular. So keep your eyes peeled. If you can't get hold of a bottle of Virgin Island Water now, then I'm sure you'll be able to get one in the future. This is the fragrance you voted as the second best fresh fragrance of all time, and I think it deserves its place. Number 1. And I'm sorry to say, I don't own this fragrance. I would actually quite like to own it. From Parfum de Marly, it's Sedley. You heard me right. It's Sedley. When I was going through all the comments on the post that I made, and I just kept counting up Sedley, and they kept coming. I know it's a nice fragrance, I enjoy it, but I did not expect it to be as popular as it is. If I'm honest, I think maybe as a fresh fragrance, probably prefer Percival. I don't know, maybe. For a while there, Parfum de Marly were not known for fresh fragrances. They were known for heavier, richer fragrances. One of my favorites is Carlisle, and you've got Herod. But they had Galloway. For a while, that was their freshest fragrance. And then in quite quick succession, they came out with Percival, Sedley, and Greenleaf. So I think the brand have done a really good job in balancing out that association between the heavier, richer scents and the fresher fragrances, because a lot of people are going to Marly for fresh fragrances, and Sedley, according to you lot, seems to be the most popular. After getting all your votes in, I was interested to see what people on Fragrantica were thinking about Sedley, and there were a few criticisms of it there, mainly based around its performance and it being a generic blue fragrance. I think it's harsh to criticize a fresh fragrance for those things. Like I said, performance inherently in a fresher fragrance is not going to be as good because of the notes used. If they want to increase performance, they're going to have to make the fragrance more complex and use heavier notes, and then it probably wouldn't be a freshie anymore. And the same with this generic blue scent. I know we've got a lot of those at the moment. And by the way, Bleu de Chanel, any of them didn't get a look in the votes for this, so another shock. But I think it's harsh to criticize a fresher blue style fragrance as being a blue generic fragrance, because again, the parameters of creating that category of fragrance are so narrow that I think it's really difficult and very rare to do something completely unique. So in this style of fragrance, you're going to come across similarities all the time. Now, you've left me in a little bit of a pickle here, because for a while I've been thinking I would really love to own Parfum de Marly's Percival. But based on what you're saying, you're making me, you lot are influencing me to want to buy Sedley as well. And usually when I can't decide on two things, I just end up getting both of them. So thanks to you lot and my silly little voting game, I'm going to end up spending quite a lot of money on fragrances. I should really stop doing these videos. It's costing me a lot. But watch this space. Hopefully at some point I will have those Parfum de Marly fragrances to add to my Marly collection. As I said, one of my favourite brands, and my collection of Parfum de Marly fragrances does lean towards the heavier side, so I think perhaps I should get them to balance things out. There you go, top 3 freshies that you voted for. If you didn't vote, why not? Make sure you vote next time. Did you agree with the results in this? Do you agree with the fragrances that were voted for as your favorite freshies? There were quite a few that didn't get in the list that I thought might do. There were a few in there that I wasn't expecting, and like I said, steadily at number 1. Who knew that was going to happen? But well done, Parfum de Marly. You've created a popular fragrance. So if you didn't vote, let me know what your favorite fresh fragrances are. I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do all that, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.